Thank you for tuning into Literary Blend, a publishing podcast. I'm your host, Demi Michelle Schwartz. There's no perfect recipe for chasing a dream in the publishing industry, but I hope the conversations on this show give you the ingredients you need to bake yours into reality. So let's flip the page and get into this chapter of Literary Blend. Hi friends, welcome back to Literary Blend. Today's chapter is called Finding Light and Hope Through Writing. And joining me on the show to chat all about this is Mickey Black. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm super excited to have you on the show. This is going to be a great conversation. Before we get into that, though, I would love for you to share with the listeners a little about yourself and your journey in publishing so far.
Hi. So I'm Mickey. I have been writing my whole life, but started to pursue it a little bit more seriously, within the past couple years. In 2019, I ran a mental health themed poetry blog called Anxious Rambling on Instagram. And I would write a lot about my struggles with anxiety and depression. And then I decided I didn't want to write about that anymore and decided to pursue like writing something more full length. I started writing my soon to be published novel in 2021 when I was pregnant and super sick. I couldn't really do anything except for type on my phone. So, um, I decided to just like go crazy with my writing because that was all my body would allow me to do. And it is going to be self published in September of this year.
Congratulations on your book. Cannot wait for that to come out. And
Thank you.
also, you're welcome. Thank you so much for being so open about everything you shared. I think that ties nicely into what we're going to cover today. This is a topic you suggested, finding light and hope through writing. So, the first area I want to explore with you is how you found the act of writing itself to bring light and hope and offer you an escape during difficult times.
Yeah, so writing has always been there for me in a time like times where I've struggled. Um, I sometimes struggle with like speaking, like actually stating what's wrong with me. So I find sometimes putting a pen to paper and writing it down really helps. I was really into journaling when I was a teenager. I very religiously kept up with my journals and um even back then would write poetry about things I was dealing with that I couldn't quite comprehend um until I was an adult.
I relate so much to that, and especially from the songwriting perspective, I completely feel the same way with what you said about not really knowing how to say things out loud sometimes and speak how you're feeling, but it's easier to write it down. And for me, that is mostly music and writing. So there are a lot of songs that I wrote when I was feeling a certain way that I couldn't really articulate normally, or that I didn't really want to talk to anybody about. And through writing the songs, that's how I was able to get things out of my system, process things, express myself. When I was younger, too, I did journaling. I had diaries when I was younger. To this day, like, I can't tell you what I wrote in those. I have no idea what middle school Jimmy put in her diaries. Don't remember. But it was something I did as well. And now with fiction writing, I think that even though I'm writing fictional characters, fictional stories, these characters typically always have a little piece of me, whether it's a part of my personality, whether it's something that I'm going through at the time, just written and flipped in a different way that's not completely the same as me, but it has a little piece of me in it. And sometimes that's consciously done, but most of the time, I'm not even aware of it. And I'll read something back either like after I wrote it or down the road, like a couple months later, and I'll realize, oh my gosh, I kind of put myself into this. I projected however ever I was feeling into this without even knowing. And so I think writing too can really be an outlet to get things out, even if you're not fully aware of actively doing that, which is super cool.
Oh, for sure. I feel like I do the same thing. I definitely have noticed in my book there are pieces having to do with like trauma and stuff and overcoming that definitely directly came from like my experiences.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm really curious if do you see a difference from writing fiction to get through dark times and writing just journal entries or poetry? I'm really curious if there's a difference for you in that.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like with fiction, you can be a lot more not creative because both forms of writing are creative, but you can be more broad with it. Whereas when I was writing poetry, I felt myself getting a little bit burnt out because I was directly talking about what was in my head. Whereas when writing a story, like a short story or a novel, I can make it, oh, well, it's this person. It's not me. It's not as personal when it kind of still is. It just doesn't feel that way. It's like wearing a disguise.
No, I completely relate to that too. I think for me, that's where the difference comes in between my stories and my songs because my songs are autobiographical. So whenever I'm writing my music, I'm not filtering anything. Sure, I'll write sometimes through different perspectives and lenses, but it's still completely based on my emotions, experiences I'm having, stuff like that. Versus, like you're saying, with the fiction, you can mask it a little bit, or maybe not necessarily mask it, but you can write it in a way where you're a little detached from the situation or the emotional experience. And the freedom with fiction, too, is if I'm writing about something that I personally experienced or portraying an emotion or the character is dealing with anxiety or like something like that, the way I write it, because it's fiction, I don't need to stay completely true to my own experience that I'm trying to put into writing. With songwriting, I feel like I have to do that because it's so personal to me. Versus fiction, it offers more freedom that you can fictionalize experiences and other situations and not feel like you're tied down to portray it in a certain way.
Yeah, for sure. I felt like when I was writing poetry so much, because I would post like multiple times a day. Um, and I felt like I had like 5,000 followers, I think, at the most. And having that many people see like the raw parts of me, like the ugly sometimes parts of me, was really hard to manage. So I needed to take a step back. Um, I found with like writing fiction, I could still write the raw parts of humanity without exposing so much of myself to like thousands of people.
Yeah, no, I completely relate to that too. And another area I want to explore with you is how writing itself can be the source of some of the darkness that we experience as authors, especially if you're querying on submission, preparing to self-publish. There are a lot of things in publishing outside of our control that can cause stress and anxiety and sometimes even make you fall out of love with writing. And in those cases, it can be hard to use writing as a way to find the light and hope if that's a source of what is making you feel like you're lost in the darkness. So, in these situations, how do you find yourself getting out of that and returning back to writing in a healthy way where it is light and giving you hope rather than just contributing to the stress?
I think in times like that, I try to shake it up a little bit. Um, for instance, when I was querying initially, I would try to work on other projects. So when I would get rejected, it wasn't like being slapped in the face so much as, oh, this is something you can work on later on. But for right now, let's focus on this new fun thing while all the not so fun things are pouring in. Um, and it really helped get me back to like why I love storytelling and why I love writing, which is like I love telling stories. So that's at the end of the day, like whether I'm self-publishing or pursuing querying if I ever decide to do that again with different projects. Um, I just want to like tell a good story and I want people to read it. So focusing on like why you love doing something is easier than the negativity of like, oh well, this person didn't like my story. And the truth is that person probably just wasn't the target audience.
Yeah, you said that perfectly. I definitely agree with working on something else while you're querying or self-publishing or on submission or whatever, because for me, like that's where I'm able to just have fun again. And of course, if I'm working on a short story, I know I'm eventually going to get feedback and submit it. And if I'm writing a new book, I know I'm eventually going to have to send it to my agent and put it on submission. But I'm not thinking about those things in the early stages. When I'm plotting my book, all I'm thinking about is plotting the book. When I'm drafting, that's all I'm thinking about. And I think if you have other projects that don't have so much pressure attached to them, then those could be escapes that you can return to again and again and return to that love for writing. Even if other projects are causing you stress or not doing well in the trenches, you can always be working on something else. And this is why I think it's so important for authors pursuing publishing to not necessarily have your sole focus on I want to be published, I want to be famous, because if that's the only reason why you're writing, that's not going to be sustainable because once you get a book deal, it's all going to start over again when you're writing a new book and you're on submission and all of that, or self-publishing and trying to get readers. So I definitely think that holding on to your love for writing and writing for the right reasons, a little fun, I think that's definitely part of it. If you're only focused on the business side and forget that this is an art form, I think it can be difficult.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree with everything you said.
The other thing too is that writing, the act of writing itself, drafting, those are things that are in our control. A lot of things in publishing are not in our control. And so I think the beauty of writing is that we're fully in control of the words we're putting down on the page and the anthologies we want to submit to and the books we want to write. So I definitely think that for me, especially, that is definitely a way that I'm able to find the light and the hope because whenever all these other things are out of my control, I can choose I'm going to write a story today or I'm going to plot my next book today because those are things in my control. And I think that is definitely something that can help with the mindset as well. When you feel like you're losing control of everything else, you can sit down and write, and that's all you. No one else is controlling that.
Yeah, you can even like broaden that to like life itself is out of your control. And something you can control is like the words you're spinning and the words you're putting on paper. So if I'm having a bad day, mental health or otherwise, I can just sit down at the end of the day and like work on these characters that I'm in love and obsessed with. And it helps kind of like ground me a little bit.
I completely agree with that. And the other thing I wanted to add too is that you don't need to share everything that you write. If you are experiencing something or have to process certain emotions, you can write a poem or a story or flash fiction, creative nonfiction, whatever you have to write. And you don't even have to share that with a friend. You don't have to submit it anywhere. You don't have to post it on your blog. You don't have to do anything with it. So I think that's the thing too. Like, I definitely have songs that I wrote that I would never record. It was just for me. And I think that's something we can remember too, that not everything you write you have to share. Some of it can just be for you.
Yeah, for sure. I need to remember that more. Just like writing for your benefit.
Perfect. Amazing. Well, just to wrap up this part of the chapter, what final thoughts do you have to share on finding light and hope through writing?
I just want to say I'm so happy that I get to write and I choose to write. It's such an honor. And being able to share my words with people is an honor. Whereas when I was writing in like my darker years, like in high school when I was angsty writing poetry, I didn't really get to share that with anyone but my English teacher. um so it's nice to have a community to like share words with and bounce ideas off of. I love the writing community so much, and I love how the writing community itself can sometimes be a light and give hope.
Perfect. Absolutely amazing note to end on. I love how you brought that up. It's so much more than just a writing. Author friends are golden. The writing community as a whole is so supportive. And I know for me, like, whenever I'm struggling in my writing journey and I see other people posting online that they're having a hard time or they just overcame something, that just reminds me that we're all experiencing similar things. And so it reminds you you're not alone. You can lean on your author friends. And when others succeed, that gives me hope too, because it just makes me think like, oh, it happened for them, it'll happen for me, it'll happen for my friends. And you just have to be patient and wait for your turn. But I definitely think that even though writing is something that we do solo, completely on our own, in our rooms, at a coffee shop, whatever, you can't get through publishing by yourself. You have to have people around you. And the people, especially, definitely bring the light and the hope. So, this brings us to your plot twist. Are you ready?
I am.
So, this chapter is getting published on Easter, so I, of course, have an Easter themed plot twist for you. Are you ready to dye some eggs?
Yes.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to give you three tropes, and I want you to design Easter eggs inspired by those tropes.
Okay.
All right, so your three tropes are fake dating, the chosen one, and the unreliable narrator.
Okay. So let's go with fake dating first. I think fake dating is going to be one of those plastic Easter eggs. Um, and maybe you like paint it yellow with polka dots. I'm feeling like something a little bubbly there because usually in fake dating, when I've read it, it's been like rom coms, and yellow is a very happy color. And maybe some glitter.
Perfect.
um, the unreliable narrator, that's the other one that I remember you said.
Yeah,
I would do like a smoky gray.
that's good.
Yeah, and just kind of like maybe like airbrush the paint on that egg and make it kind of like mysterious because your narrator is a mysterious beast.
Yeah, that's perfect. And then the last one is the chosen one.
The chosen one. That's gonna be the special gold egg that you
Yeah.
find the $5 in.
Oh, Your answers were perfect. Oh my goodness. I always love coming up with these because I always think like if someone popped this on me, I don't know what I would say, but then everyone comes up with such good answers.
Oh my goodness, I was nervous for this part in preparation. I listened to a few of your episodes and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is where I'm gonna forget how to talk."
No, you did great. Perfect Easter eggs. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Can you share with everybody where they can connect with you online?
Yeah, of course. I am on X as Mickey Black Pens, and then everywhere else, I'm author Mickey Black.
Amazing. Thanks again for joining me.
Thank you.
You're so welcome, and listeners, that's a wrap on this chapter with Mickey Black, all about finding light and hope through writing. If you enjoyed our conversation, please consider leaving Literary Blend a review and giving it 5 stars to help others just like you discover it. Also, if you have friends in publishing you think would enjoy the show too, please pass it along to them. Thanks for listening, and until we flip to the next chapter, happy reading and writing.